My jealous mom couldn't handle the fact that I got pregnant before her favorite daughter, so she brought my ex. What he revealed made her regret everything. I call her Jackie. It's always felt odd because you'd expect me to call her mom, like most kids do. But Jackie made it clear, both to me and my half-sister Leah, that she never wanted to be called that. In her mind, mom sounded like something meant for someone older, and she never liked the idea of being seen that way. She told us more than once that the title mother made her feel weighed down. So it was always just Jackie, like she was a roommate or a friend, not the person who gave birth to me. Jackie got pregnant with me in high school. It wasn't planned. She and my biological father, Avery, weren't thinking long-term. She's always referred to the pregnancy as an accident, a word that stuck with me in ways she'll probably never understand. Jackie and my dad were just high school sweethearts. Young, reckless, and completely unprepared. When she told him about the pregnancy, he made it clear he wasn't going to be part of a family with her. He agreed to support me financially and be involved in my life, but he wasn't interested in continuing their relationship. That crushed Jackie, even if she wouldn't admit it out loud. I think part of her believed that having a baby would make their bond stronger, maybe even push them toward something serious. But that wasn't how it turned out. And when the reality hit, it hit her hard. After I was born, things between Jackie and my dad only got worse. She couldn't hide her resentment. Every time he came by to see me or take me for a visit, she would find a reason to argue. It didn't matter how minor the issue was, she would explode over anything. Sometimes it was something petty, sometimes bigger, but it always came back to her anger that he didn't want to be with her. At that age, I didn't understand what was really going on. I believed whatever Jackie said about him. She'd tell me things like, "He doesn't love you enough to marry me," or, "Your dad's just a deadbeat." I was a kid. I couldn't process the emotional manipulation behind those words. But as I got older, the truth started becoming clearer. I realized my dad wasn't the villain Jackie had made him out to be. In fact, he was the opposite. He never missed a weekend with me. He showed up every time, always on time, always ready to spend time with me. He never missed a child support payment. And most importantly, he made me feel wanted. Even though he and Jackie were never close again, I knew he cared about me. That mattered. When I was 6, Jackie met Mike, the man she would later marry and now calls the love of her life. Watching her with him was surreal. She was different, happier maybe, more herself. Mike was kind, easygoing, and he accepted me without hesitation. He treated me like his own daughter. I appreciated that deeply, especially given how inconsistent things were with Jackie. Mike was never the problem. He showed up in ways Jackie often didn't. Then, shortly after they married, Jackie got pregnant again. That time it was different. She was ready for it. And when Leah was born, I was genuinely excited. I adored her from the start. Over the years, she's become my best friend, and I love her deeply. But despite how much I love Leah, I can't pretend that Jackie treated us the same. From day one, Leah was the favorite. Jackie adored her in a way I never experienced. She lit up around her, bought her beautiful dresses, matching shoes, every toy she could ask for. Leah was everything to Jackie. And me? I felt invisible. Jackie was cold with me, detached. It always felt like I was in the way. When she did spend time with me, it was strained, like she was doing it out of obligation, not love. Of course I felt jealous. How could I not? I watched Leah receive the kind of attention and love I'd only dreamed of. I tried to earn it. I asked for things, small things, a dress, a doll. But she'd dismiss me. Sometimes, instead of something new, she'd hand me my cousin's old hand-me-downs and say I didn't need anything new. That favoritism hurt more than I can describe. It wasn't just about the stuff. It was the emotional rejection. Jackie gave all her warmth to Leah and left me out in the cold. Even though I loved my sister, it broke my heart that our mom made it so clear who she truly cared about. Leah's birthdays were always major events. Themed parties, balloons, mountains of gifts. Friends and family crowded the house. Jackie went all out, and it was obvious how much effort she put into making Leah feel special. It was the kind of celebration every kid dreams of. And mine? They felt like an afterthought. No parties. No friends. Most years, Jackie would just order pizza and leave it at that. No decorations. No cake. Just another day. And every time it happened, it reminded me that I didn't matter to her the same way. That kind of emotional neglect sticks with you. I didn't want big gifts or an extravagant party. I just wanted to feel seen. When I was old enough to confront Jackie about it, she didn't try to understand. She didn't offer an apology. Instead, she snapped, "Go cry about it to your dad." And then she'd follow up with, "It's his fault." Like the way she treated me was somehow his responsibility. It was her way of avoiding accountability, of shifting blame. My dad, though, he noticed. He tried to make up for it the best he could. He always remembered my birthday. He called at midnight every year without fail, to be the first to wish me a happy birthday. He got me gifts and made the day feel special even when Jackie didn't. He saw the difference in how she treated me and Leah, and it hurt him too. I remember a few times he tried to talk to Jackie about it. He didn't yell or argue. He just wanted to understand, wanted her to see how it was affecting me. But those conversations never went anywhere. Instead of listening, Jackie would lash out, and it would quickly turn into a screaming match. She'd tell him to keep his opinions to himself, and insist that he had no right to comment on how she raised Leah differently, because she was married to Leah's father, not him. In Jackie's eyes, the fact that Mike was Leah's dad somehow gave her the right to treat Leah better. It was as though my dad's presence in my life automatically disqualified me from deserving the same kind of love and attention. That hurt more than anything. It felt like I was being punished for something entirely beyond my control. When I left for college, it became even clearer just how little my presence truly mattered to Jackie. If I'm being honest, I think she was relieved to finally have me out of the house. I could sense it in the way she carried herself, like a burden had been lifted. She hardly ever called, and when she did, it felt forced, like she was checking a box rather than genuinely wanting to know how I was doing. Ironically, it was Mike, Leah, and my dad who made the most effort to stay connected. They visited me more, called often, and made sure I was settling in okay. It was comforting, but it also underscored how little effort Jackie put into maintaining any relationship with me. Her distance stung, but I tried not to let it consume me. I kept hoping that, over time, whatever resentment she harbored towards me and my dad would fade, and maybe we'd eventually have something resembling a normal mother-daughter bond. During my final year of college, I met Ian, my ex-boyfriend. Things got serious pretty fast between us, and for a while everything was great. Ian was supportive, attentive, and most importantly, he made me feel seen. That wasn't something I was used to, especially not from my own family. Jackie, in particular, had never made me feel valued in that way. Graduating from college was a huge milestone, and my dad, Mike, Leah, and even Jackie came to celebrate. Though to be honest, Mike had to push Jackie to show up. I knew she wouldn't have attended if he hadn't insisted. Still, it meant something to have them all there on such an important day. That was the first time Jackie met Ian. And to my surprise, she seemed almost mesmerized by him. At first, I didn't think much of it, but then she started making strange remarks like how she couldn't believe someone as handsome as Ian would date someone like me. I tried to brush it off the first time. I had grown accustomed to Jackie's offhand comments that stung more than she probably realized. Or maybe she did realize. I wasn't sure anymore. Either way, I told myself it wasn't worth confronting her about it. But then she did it again. We were having lunch after the ceremony, and right there, in front of Ian and the rest of the family, she made another comment, this time implying that I wasn't attractive enough for Ian and joking that I might be his charity case. This time it wasn't just a dig. It was deeply humiliating, especially with Ian sitting right there. I could feel the embarrassment rising in my chest. I wasn't going to let her get away with it this time. I turned to her as calmly as I could, and told her that what she was saying was creepy and inappropriate. I reminded her that I was more than my looks and pointed out how uncomfortable her remarks were. Not just to me but to everyone present. Even Ian looked unsettled. My dad, who typically avoided confrontation with Jackie, was clearly annoyed. He shot her a few sharp looks, probably hoping she'd pick up on the discomfort and stop before it got worse. I could tell he didn't want to cause a scene in front of Ian, but he was just as upset as I was. This wasn't a one-time slip. It was yet another instance of Jackie using a moment that should have been joyful to make me feel small. Apparently, not long after that day, Jackie sent Ian a friend request on Facebook. Ian told me about it and asked if I was okay with him accepting it. I didn't want to make a fuss, so I said it was his choice. He accepted it just to be polite. He knew, like I did, that if he didn't, she'd probably bring it up next time she saw him. It struck me as odd that the same woman who showed almost no interest in my life during college suddenly wanted to keep in touch with my boyfriend on social media. Over the 3 years Ian and I were together, Jackie kept up a surface-level connection with him. She'd comment occasionally on his posts or message him short, polite notes. It never crossed any lines, but the familiarity between them always felt out of place. Jackie never paid me that kind of attention, but she seemed more engaged with Ian. During our relationship, Ian mentioned more than once that he thought Jackie was jealous of me, of my life. He pointed out small things. The way she spoke to me, how she dismissed my achievements, and how oddly fixated she seemed on my relationships. I was taken aback. The thought had never occurred to me. I'd always chalked her behavior up to resentment toward my dad or just emotional coldness. But Ian was certain. From the outside, he could see how she subtly undermined me. how she seemed unsettled by my happiness or success. First, I resisted that idea. It was painful to consider that my own mother could be jealous of me. But as Ian continued pointing out the patterns, I began to see them for myself. Whether it was my appearance, my accomplishments, or my romantic life, Jackie always found a way to diminish me. And when I let myself consider that her behavior might stem from jealousy, a lot of things started to make sense. After that, I became more guarded. I stopped letting her comments affect me as much. I couldn't unlearn what I had come to see. Her behavior no longer looked like indifference, it looked like competition. That realization made me pull away emotionally even more. Ian and I broke up after 3 years. It was amicable, we both realized we were heading in different directions. We promised to stay friends and keep in touch, but life got in the way. We drifted apart, and that chapter quietly ended. Then 2 years ago I met Phil and everything changed. He is everything I ever hoped for in a partner. Phil is kind, thoughtful, and makes me feel valued in ways I never thought I'd experience. With him things just feel right. We talk about our dreams, our future. And for the first time I can see a real path to the life I want. One filled with love, security, and one day a family. I'm truly happy with him. And I don't take that for granted. This year Phil and I discovered I was pregnant. It wasn't something we had planned immediately, but it wasn't an unwelcome surprise either. We had always dreamed of starting a family, and while the timing caught us a bit off guard, the excitement was very real. We were overjoyed and quickly began planning for this next chapter in our lives. One of the first things we did was get married. It was a small, intimate ceremony with only close friends and family. Leah, of course, was my bridesmaid, and having her by my side on such a meaningful day meant everything to me. Jackie, my mother, attended the wedding, but throughout the ceremony I could sense her disapproval, though I wasn't exactly sure why. She had this frustrated look, like something about the whole event unsettled her. Later, when we had a quiet moment alone, she finally let her thoughts spill out. She bluntly told me she never wanted me to marry someone like Phil. In her mind, I was making a mistake by being with him. Then, without warning, she told me that she had actually hoped I would get back together with my ex-boyfriend, Ian. I couldn't help but laugh when she said that. It was so absurd, so completely out of touch with the reality of my life now. I honestly thought maybe she'd had too much to drink and was just rambling. The fact that she was still holding on to some fantasy involving Ian while I had moved on and found genuine happiness with Phil was laughable. I tried to brush off her comments the way I've learned to over the years, but deep down it did hurt. Even on one of the happiest days of my life, my wedding day, Jackie still managed to find a way to criticize me, to remind me that I wasn't living up to her expectations. But this time things were different. I had Phil by my side, a baby on the way, and for once, I made the decision to focus on the love and joy in my life rather than Jackie's constant negativity. After the wedding, Phil and I waited until everything had settled to announce our big news. We wanted the pregnancy to stand on its own, separate from the wedding, so no one could question the timing. When we finally told everyone, my dad, Leah, and Mike were absolutely thrilled. Their joy made the moment even more special. Of course, Jackie had to taint it. She started questioning whether I was sure I wanted to have a child, making comments about how I might regret jumping into motherhood so soon after marriage. Her remarks were laced with judgment, as if she were projecting her own regrets or frustrations onto me. I was stunned that even during such a joyous time, she couldn't offer support without casting doubt. But this time, I didn't let her words slide. Becoming a mother changed something in me. I felt a need to protect not just myself, but my unborn child, from the kind of belittlement and emotional manipulation I'd endured my whole life. Calmly but firmly, I told her that I was not her. I reminded her that I was having a child with the man I loved, and that I had no regrets. I let her know, clearly and without apology, that the timing was right for me and that I was confident in my decision. For years I had allowed her to make me feel small, to question my worth and second-guess my choices. But not this time. This time I was standing firm. And that's when Jackie showed her true colors. She said she couldn't believe that I, the daughter she had always treated as second best, was the first to get pregnant and give the family its first grandchild. She admitted she always expected Leah to be the one who'd win. Then, as if that wasn't already shocking, she accused me of trying to ruin her reputation by having a baby so soon after getting married. She said she wasn't ready to be a grandmother, and that I was damaging her social image. Hearing that felt like a slap in the face. My pregnancy, my joy, was now somehow a burden to her public image. It was a level of selfishness that even I didn't expect from her. She wasn't worried about me or my child or our future. She was only worried about what her friends would say. That was the breaking point for me. I told her without hesitation that if she truly felt that way, she wouldn't be part of my child's life. I told her that if her social status meant more to her than being a supportive mother and grandmother, then she could consider herself cut off. I was going no contact. The conversation escalated into a full-blown argument. Emotions flared on both sides, but I stood my ground and asked her to leave. Since that day, Jackie has bombarded me with messages, trying to guilt-trip me into apologizing for overreacting. She blamed my hormones, accused me of being too sensitive, and said that as my mother, she had every right to voice her concerns about my life. But I wasn't having it. Update 1. It's been a week since that blow-up. Jackie has had no choice but to back down. Leah and Mike confronted her about how insensitive she had been, urging her to just let it go. And for the first time, Jackie seems to have realized that I wasn't bluffing about cutting her off. She finally offered an apology, reluctantly of course, but she promised to stop making negative remarks about my pregnancy or marriage. Update 2. And here's where it gets completely unbelievable. 3 days ago, Leah threw me a beautiful baby shower. Everything was perfect, just as I had imagined. Jackie was there too, but she seemed unusually tense, constantly glancing at the door like she was waiting for something, or someone. Then the doorbell rang and everything changed. Jackie practically leapt off the couch and announced to everyone that she had a surprise. I assumed it was a gift or maybe a distant relative. I never could have predicted what came next. It was Ian, my ex-boyfriend. He looked uncomfortable, clearly unsure why he was even there. My mom, however, was parading him around like he was some grand gesture. I was stunned. This was my baby shower, my day. Why was Ian standing in front of me? Jackie proudly told me she had been speaking with him for weeks, convincing him to come and give me a second chance. She then turned to me and said she knew I was settling for Phil, and that I didn't need to anymore because Ian was here for me. The room fell silent. Everyone exchanged horrified glances. I just kept staring at Jackie and then at Ian, trying to understand what was happening. And then Ian, clearly mortified, stepped forward. He apologized for the interruption and explained he never wanted to be there. He said my mom had been hounding him on Facebook, sending message after message, convinced that he and I were meant to be together. She told him I was making a huge mistake having a baby with Phil, and that he needed to come save me. It was so insane I could barely wrap my head around it. Ian made it clear he had no intention of rekindling anything, but felt I deserved to know how manipulative my mother had been. He said he came to expose her behavior, how she was going behind my back, trying to sabotage my life out of some twisted fantasy. As he spoke, the tension in the room thickened. All eyes turned to Jackie, whose face had gone red with shame. She clearly never expected Ian to speak the truth out loud. Ian then turned to Jackie and in a firm, unwavering voice, told her that she needed to stop messaging him. He said it was time for her to move on with her life, and that she had no right to sabotage my baby shower in such a calculated way. I could see the fury and humiliation etched across my mom's face. But for once, perhaps for the first time in my life, she had no snappy retort, no quick defense. She stood there frozen, exposed. Ian continued, telling her that he had always sensed her jealousy toward me, and that he was deeply disappointed to see she hadn't changed after all these years. His words struck hard, echoing in the silent room. Jackie was speechless, and the gravity of her actions finally hit her, not just in her own heart but in the eyes of everyone witnessing the moment. After Ian finished speaking, he turned to me and apologized again. He said he was sorry for disrupting my shower, but he felt it was necessary to be honest, to show me the truth about what my mother had been doing behind my back. Before he left, he handed me a small gift he had brought for my baby, a thoughtful gesture that managed to pierce through all the awkwardness. Despite everything, I thanked him not just for the gift but for having the courage to speak up. Without his honesty, I might never have believed the extent of what my mother was willing to do. She had been plotting behind my back, trying to sabotage one of the most meaningful events of my life. After Ian walked out, the room was filled with a thick, uncomfortable silence. All eyes shifted to Jackie, who looked like she wished she could disappear. She stood there trembling, on the verge of tears, completely undone by the public exposure of her cruelty. I could hardly believe what had just unfolded. My own mother had attempted to undermine me in the most humiliating way possible. And that moment, raw, painful, undeniable, confirmed what I had always suspected deep down. That Jackie wasn't just difficult or critical. She was someone actively working against me, fueled by her own jealousy and insecurities. Since that day, both Leah and I have cut off all contact with Jackie. Everyone who had witnessed the events of the baby shower soon shared what happened with the rest of the family. The fallout was swift and absolute. No one wanted anything to do with her anymore. My dad, furious beyond words, warned Jackie to stay far away from me and my growing family. I'm still in disbelief at the lengths my own mother was willing to go just to try and destroy my happiness.
Update 3 ***. It's been 8 months since that day. And for those who've been following my story, our baby was born healthy and is doing wonderfully. Phil and I are stronger than ever, fully embracing our new life as parents. Leah, my dad, and Mike have all visited us several times, and we still meet up regularly to share in the joy and support of this new chapter. Jackie, however, remains entirely out of the picture. Mike is now separated from her. It turns out that once he confronted her about everything she had done, she flat out refused to apologize. She tried instead to justify her behavior, as if there could ever be a justification for such betrayal. That moment was eye-opening for Mike. He finally saw what the rest of us had known for so long. If Jackie could treat her own daughter with such cruelty, then no one was truly safe from her toxic tendencies, not even someone she claimed to love. Her selfishness, he realized, was boundless. And just like the rest of us, he made the decision that he was better off without her in his life.